All right, cruising right along. Given that lines are parallel and angle 3 is 56 degrees, we're going to prove that the measure of angle 8 is 124 degrees. All right, so reason 1, given. Okay, now watch this. Let's emphasize some things. We're talking about angle 3 and angle 5. So remember, we can always tell things by looking at the picture. How do we know angle 3 and angle 5 are supplementary? Well, by looking at the picture, I can tell that they're consecutive interior angles supplements theorem. All right. Since they're consecutive interior angles, they're supplementary by the theorem itself. And I can tell that by just looking at the picture. So remember, when you do two-column proofs, when you're doing stuff, look at the picture, see what you can determine to be true by what the picture gives you. So next we got the buzzword supplementary. What do we know about supplementary? We know that the measures of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 5 is going to equal 180 degrees. Why? The definition of supplementary. Okay, now what do I want to do for here? Notice how, let me think actually. Let's do this. Okay, I'm talking about 3 and 5. I need to introduce angle 8 somehow, because we can always use like reverse engineering. My punchline, my final conclusion is going to be talking about angle 8. So how can I get angle 8 in here? Well, let me think about how I want to do this. Actually, let's do this first before I start to talk about angle 8. I got a little ahead of myself. I'm going to substitute 56 in for angle 3. I got a little too excited. My apologies, I should have done this first. All I did was substitute it in. I replaced it since they equal each other. I'm allowed to do that mathematically, legally. Okay. And then let's just subtract 56 degrees from both sides. I'm just going to subtract it. I'm going to be left with measure of angle 5 equals 124 degrees because of subtraction. Okay. Now, this is what I was getting a little excited about. I didn't look far ahead enough in the proof, my apologies, but now we're ready for it. I need angle 8 in my proof somehow. How can I get it? Well, what do I know about angle 8? Well, I already talking about angle 5, and I know angle 8 and angle 5 are the same. Why are they congruent? Why are they the same? Again, you should know this already. You have to be good at it. We use it so much. It's vertical angle congruence theorem. All right. Then again, remember, proofs can be somewhat difficult, somewhat challenging, but it's just a giant pattern. All right, we do a lot of the same things again and again and again. All right, even though each proof is unique, it's a lot of similarities between previous ones. All right, since the angles are congruent, their measures are equal by definition of congruence. And then again, my last punchline is I'm going to say, well, the measure of angle 8 equals 124 degrees. How? Why? Transitive. How is this transitive? Watch this. Angle 8 equals 124 degrees. Measure of angle 5 equals 120. Wait, hold on, time out. Let me rephrase this. Measure of angle 8 equals measure of angle 5. Measure of angle 5 equals 124 degrees. So measure of angle 8 and 124 degrees are both equal to 100, I'm struggling. Measure of angle 8 and 124 degrees are both equal to measure of angle 5, so they're equal to each other via transitive. All right, cool beans. All right, cruising right along. Given that the lines are parallel we're going to prove that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 6 equals 180 degrees. And just recall that if you pick any two angles in this picture, they're either going to be congruent or supplementary. They're either going to be congruent, they're going to be equal, or they're going to add up to equal 180. Anywho, given. All right, this one, let me think about this. So sometimes I did this on purpose because sometimes we're going to be very tedious and talk about how they're supplementary. So look up here where I'm circling in orange. Up here we stated that they're supplementary from the consecutive interior angle supplements theorem, and then we said that the measures would add up to 180 in the next step. Sometimes teachers, again, I don't make every proof, so I try to hit on what I've seen other teachers do. Sometimes they're just going to say, well, 4 and 6, we're not going to say that they're supplementary. We're just going to say that these two angles add up to 180 because of the consecutive. Interior angles supplements theorem. All right, so I try to do a variety of tediousness on these guided notes because I've seen quizzes. Teachers from all out of Hilliard contributed to the quizzes, so sometimes they expect different things than other teachers. Sometimes they jump in and just say automatically 180. All right, just so you're aware. Next, we got angle 1 is congruent to angle 4. Again, big punchline. It's going to be vertical angle congruence theorem. And then since they have equal measures, or excuse me, since they are congruent angles, they're going to have equal measures by definition of congruence. Which then in turn, I can say, well, I'm going to take angle 4 right here in step 2. I'm going to replace it with angle 1 because angle 1 equals angle 4. So I'm legally allowed to do this via substitution. Okay, and that's it. Okay, a lot of proofs today. It's good stuff, a lot of great practice going on. All right, repetition, refining our skills, all that fun stuff. All right, so given that the lines are parallel and the measure of angle 6 equals the measure of angle 9. So lines are parallel, bloop, bloop, 6, 9. They have equal measures, so I'm going to put the arc marks, and that's given. So again, this time, being a little bit more tedious, we're going to say, well, angle 4, because again, use reverse engineering. How do I know? Let me just write it like this. Angle 4 and angle 6 are supplementary. Now, how do I know to pick those two angles? Why don't I say 3 and 5 or other things? How come I'm saying 4 and 6 are supplementary? Well, what's my end game? I need a 4 in my final conclusion. I'm trying to prove stuff about angle 4. All right? And I'm trying to prove stuff about angle 4 adding up to 180. So this is a great way to introduce angle 4 into my proof and ultimately getting things to equal 180. So you can always look at your punchline and then reverse engineer your proof like that. Okay? So the next step is going to be measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 6 equals 180 via definition of supplementary. Neat. All right, and then via substitution, measure of angle 6 equals the measure of angle 9. So I'm going to replace measure of angle 6 with the measure of angle 9, and that equals 180. Nice. All right, aren't you guys enjoying this? Don't you feel like you guys are getting better at proofs? Because I sure do. I'm having a blast. In fact, I'm having so much fun. Let's do one more proof, and then we'll save some algebra for the next video. All right? So, given that line M is parallel to N, and the measure of angle 1 equals 100 degrees. All right, so parallel, 100, cool. All right, let's just fill this in. Again, should never miss the first statement or the first reason. How do we know that angle 1 is congruent to angle 5, our good friend corresponding angles postulate, which abbreviates to CAP. All right, so since those angles are congruent, how do we know that their measures are equal? Again, you should already know this. We've done it about 1 billion times, this guided notes. Its definition of congruence. And then using reverse engineering, all right? I have 1 and 5. How can I introduce angle 7? All right, angle 7 is my ultimate punchline. I need to be talking about how that equals 80 degrees by the end. Well, I can figure out stuff about 5. There's 7. All right. So, I know that they form a linear pair by definition of linear pair. And then the linear pair postulate says that they're supplementary. So remember buzzwords. We have buzzwords. When we say a famous word that we talk about a lot in class, such as linear pair, chances are we're going to use the postulate. Again, linear pair postulate. Now, supplementaries next. And I'm talking about the definition of supplementary. All right, so for this one, all I'm going to say is the measure of angle 5 plus the measure of angle 7 equals 180 degrees. All right, and some massive substitution going on right now. Massive, incredibly massive. You can't get much more massive than this substitution. Angle 5, I can replace with angle 1. They're equal to each other. However, angle 1 is also equal to angle 5. All right, so since all this junk is equal to each other, I'm able to replace angle 5 with 100 via substitution. And then I can just subtract 100 from both sides, and the measure of angle 7 equals 80 degrees. Even if I didn't know how to do, or didn't know that's what I needed to do, remember what we're trying to prove. You can never miss the last statement. Why? It's what we're always trying to prove. Okay? So that's it. Stay tuned for some fun algebra stuff.